All right, today we're going to dive into something pretty deep, a kind of invisible internal world, the architecture of the hypervigilant adult. You know, if you've ever felt like you were born an old soul, this might just be the blueprint you've been looking for.
So let me just ask you this straight up. Did you grow up too fast? A lot of people who'd say yes to that talk about feeling this really deep sense of responsibility from a super young age. And that feeling, that's what we're going to unpack. Because it's not just a personality quirk. Not at all. It's actually a learned strategy for survival. This quote, wow, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? For some kids, emotional intelligence wasn't some soft skill you learn later in life. It was the most important skill. It meant learning how to scan for moods, anticipate what people needed, and smooth over tensions long before you learned to read letters on a page. That became your first language. And all of that brings us to our first big idea, what we can call a childhood reversed. It's right here, in those early years, that the foundation of this entire internal architecture gets built. The official term for this is parentification. And here's the thing to really get. It's often super subtle. It's not usually about someone forcing you into a role. It's more about a child sensing some kind of emotional instability in a parent, and then they just instinctively step up to fill that void. They become the confidant, the mediator, the emotional rock for the whole family. And this right here just shows that switch perfectly. I mean, look, on the left, you've got the expected role of a kid, getting care, learning by playing, and being able to express their own needs. But on the right, that's the reality for the parentified child. They are the ones providing the care, managing the conflicts, and handling adult emotions. The whole flow of support is completely back. Now, when you take on that kind of immense responsibility, it forces you to develop a very specific and, honestly, powerful skill. We call this skill hypervigilance. And at its core, it's a survival tool. Okay, so this is absolutely crucial to understand. Hypervigilance isn't a disorder. It's an adaptation. Think about it. If your environment feels emotionally unpredictable, being constantly aware, being hypervigilant, is literally the most intelligent thing you can do. It's a tool you build to keep yourself and maybe your whole family safe. So how does this tool get built and become so automatic? Well, here's the pathway. It all starts with just sensing that instability. That leads you to step up and take on that caretaker job. And to do that job effectively, you have to constantly scan for emotional threats, a slight shift in someone's tone, a certain look, a door that closes just a little too hard. You do that long enough, and that constant scanning becomes your nervous system's default setting. It gets hardwired. So what happens when this kid, armed with this super-tuned survival skill, becomes an adult? Well, they learn to wear what we can call the high-functioning mask. And this mask, let me tell you, is a masterpiece of social adaptation. It allows the adult to look so calm, so capable, so incredibly put together, but underneath all that, the internal radar is always on, always scanning. The mask is really designed to perform competency and please others, all to protect that vulnerable kid inside from even a hint of rejection or failure. And these are the hallmarks of that mask. You've got extreme self-reliance, because you learned really early you couldn't count on anyone else, an intense, almost overwhelming sense of responsibility for everyone and everything. You're an incredible problem solver, probably because you've been spotting potential disasters since you were a toddler. You have ridiculously high empathy, but it's almost impossible to really relax or be spontaneous because that internal radar is never truly off. And of course, a deep, deep tendency to people please, all to keep the environment stable and safe. Do any of these sound a little familiar? So how do we pull this all together? It's so easy to look at these traits and see them as flaws, right? As things that are wrong with you. But that is just not the whole story. A much more accurate way to see them is as a part of your internal architecture. And this right here is the most important thing I want you to take away from all of this. What you have is not a flaw. It is a sophisticated, complex, and protective internal structure. It was built brick by brick for a very specific reason, to help you survive a really challenging environment. It is a testament to your incredible strength and your resilience. And you know, the beauty of seeing it as architecture is that you realize there's a blueprint. You can't renovate a house without understanding its structure first, right? Well, just by recognizing this pattern, by finally seeing your own blueprint, you take the first and most powerful step toward making conscious, intentional changes, if and only if you choose to. So, we'll end with this question. For you, this architecture, It has served you well. It absolutely got you here. But now that you can see the blueprint, you get to be the architect. You get to decide what you're going to build next.